For this project, I chose to watch Full Metal Jacket, and I watched it with my mom and my grandparents, and I thought it was a very good movie, although it was very difficult to watch. So, just for some background information about Full Metal Jacket, it was released in 1987, and it was about the Vietnam War, and the first half, what I noticed, was focused mainly on the training of the soldiers for the Vietnam War. And as you can see in these photos, the soldiers did face some humiliation, as in this picture with General Hartman. And also, there was one main character that I spotted throughout. His name was Pyle, who did end up committing suicide towards the end because of all the torment. He went like crazy. And I noticed while searching the pictures of the training, he was mostly the center of attention, as you can see here and here and here. And I think he definitely was the foundation for the harsh conditions of the training that happened and occurred during the Vietnam War, because it was very difficult for the soldiers, especially Soldier Pyle. The second half of the movie focused primarily on the war itself. The purpose of the war was to kill, essentially. As you can see from this helmet that says "Born to Kill" from the main character of the second half, whose name was Joker. These scenes, for me at least, and I know for my family, were probably the most difficult to watch, especially this one, because you can definitely see this pain that the soldiers are enduring and the fury in this picture too. And you also see the strategizing here, but in general, the movie was very difficult to watch. However, it was very well filmed, in my opinion. So now I was going to talk about how there are certain events in history that connect to the aspects of the movie. So my first one I was going to talk about is the Watergate scandal, which involved Nixon, which is pictured right here. And so what happened during the Watergate scandal is that Nixon had bugged offices of political opponents and people or officials that he found suspicious. He also had ordered harassment of activist groups and political figures by using organizations such as like the FBI, CIA, and the IRS. And he also had tape recording systems in his offices to overhear conversations of people he thought were suspicious. He also audited citizens' taxes when they talked against him. All that I learned from this is that this shows his deception and harshness, and also the main point, his corruption of authority. Corruption of authority was very prominent in the Full Metal Jacket. What I noticed mostly was with General Hartman. He was very harsh toward the soldiers, especially in the beginning. The beginning of the movie is essentially just him yelling, walking down the aisle where all the soldiers are standing, and he checks up on each one, and he pays very strict attention to the soldier named Pyle, and he is his main target of torment and harassment as well. Sergeant Hartman uses a lot of profane language, and at one point he even makes Pyle choke himself with Sergeant Hartman's hand, which was very hard to watch. This authority that people think they have that allows them to do whatever they want isn't effective at all, because what my family and I were saying during the movie is just like the big question was why? Like, you yelling at the soldiers isn't going to do anything. It's just going to scare them away from you. It's not going to help them with the war or anything. It's just going to frighten them and not want them to be motivated. Where there were other examples of brutal authority in the film, whereas the one scene with Crazy Earl in the plane on the way to Vietnam, and there's this one quote that I have posted there, and he's just shooting his gun at every single person he sees running, and he's almost like brainwashed because it has no effect on him. I mean, he has no issue shooting women and children, and it's awful. Another scene where there was brutal authority was also, it's one of the ending scenes when they find the girl who is in charge of the sniper that killed some of the soldiers, and Joker is the one that ends up killing her. He obviously has authority over her, and she keeps repeating, "Shoot me, please shoot me." And even though what he did to put her out of misery may have been the best of her interest, it was still an awful scene to watch, and it just shows how they have such control over these Vietnamese people. Another event that I decided to research for this project was the Iran-Contra affair with Ronald Reagan. The Iran-Contra affair had to do with a political scandal during the second term of the Reagan administration. There, the senior administration official secretly facilitated sale of arms to Iran as an arms embargo, as in hoping in return to secure release of U.S. hostages and fund Contras in Nicaragua. The purpose was to free 7 U.S. hostages in Lebanon, which had ties to Iranian grounds, and so they sold them weapons to get back the hostages. The big idea here was that the combat there was really just to do anything to save the hostages, even though there was a big risk. It may not have been the best thing to do, and they might not have, the authoritative figures may not have been completely honest, obviously, but they needed to take the risk in order to get their people back. This idea also connects to the corruptive authority of Ronald Reagan and Oliver North. However, more than just that, in the movie, talking about risk in combat, especially in this scene right here, there were many parts where this scene where they went to find the sniper and they knew there was only one. However, it was very difficult for them to do that, and they were trying to listen to this authoritative figure right here. However, these guys here weren't very good at listening, and they had to keep going to get these soldiers back who had been shot. So I think this kind of corrects to how there is this huge risk, and the purpose is to save the people that are being attacked, even though there is danger involved for everybody. So since I watched this movie with my grandparents and my mom, it was kind of interesting to see all of our reactions. In my opinion, this movie was amazing. However, it was really hard for me to watch. There were some scenes, especially scenes that involved objectifying women, like this one, and also the scene in the very beginning where Pyle just goes insane and he shoots Hartman and himself. I remember sitting on my couch and my mom and I would just look at each other so we wouldn't have to look at the screen. And I think that's just how awful, because this happened in real life. I mean, it's, even though it's in the past, it's still history, and it's something that hopefully we'll never have to experience again, but it was hard to watch because of that it has happened. The one scene that specifically got to my grandmother, I know, is this one right here, and it's when this guy is pretending that this dead Vietnamese soldier has his birthday on that day, and I know my grandma just said, "Oh no, don't lift off the hat," but then obviously he did, and it showed this, and it just shows, in my opinion, just like the brainwashing of the soldiers. I mean, they've just been taught to kill, and they're obviously born to kill, as it says on Joker's helmet, and I mean, it comes across as very strong, but it is very depressing at the same time. I mean, if you see this image, there's just people lined up, just dead bodies lined up, and it's hard to watch. But overall, I definitely thought that the movie was a good experience for me, at least, because I didn't really know much about the Vietnam War before seeing the movie. Didn't really know much about the combat and the purpose of it. So I thought it was really interesting to be able to watch something and to be able to experience watching something like this. And I really enjoyed this movie, even though it was very difficult to watch. One specific part, though, that I forgot to mention was that there was this ending part, which was kind of ironic because it's a very depressing war, very depressing movie, and they're all chanting this song, and they're singing this song, which is about Mickey Mouse, which is kind of a happy character, obviously, from Disney. They're singing this after having won a part of the war, and they're all marching, so here is a part of the song. M-O-U-S-E, Mickey Mouse, Mickey Mouse, Mickey Mouse, Mickey Mouse, forever let us hold our banner high, 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 boys and girls from far and near, you're welcome as can be, M-I-C-K-E-Y, M-O-U-S-E. Here's the bibliography, and I hope you enjoyed this project.